Okay, well, thank y'all for being here. It's good to see you, and it's good to see some folks who were here last time. And hello, Instagram. So I entitled today's discussion, conversation, Sovereign by Design. And I think it'll become clear why. Sovereignty is a big theme for me. And so I approach my work as a natural health coach through the lens of sovereignty and the lens of re-empowering ourselves and taking back control and responsibility over our health. And it's amazing how much power we actually have. So today we're going to talk about a pretty sensitive topic, and it's a topic that there's not a lot of clarity on for a lot of people, which is why I wanted to talk about it, okay? Yeah, and I want to preface this by saying that nothing that I share with you today is speculative, okay? It's not theory. This is actual stuff that is being seen by actual people under actual microscopes, okay? And being tracked in a very conscientious way by scientists and researchers. Everything that I talk about is stuff you can look up, and I encourage you to do that. To not just take my word for it, but to get curious about what's going on and look into it yourself, because that's when you see, oh, okay, there's patents, there's, it's out there, the information is accessible. It's just that most of the time people don't go looking, right? Because we're in a habit of just assuming that, it's fine. Until it isn't, okay? So I'm opening this space in the name of truth, in the name of clarity, in the name of calling out what needs to be called out so that we can look things in the face. Because we can't take actions, we can't move towards solutions if we don't want to acknowledge what's going on and what we're facing, what we're dealing with, right? So I promise you that today I will voice no negatives without a solution, okay? And I'm quoting the great Kathy O'Brien when I say that. She says that she was taught voice no negatives without a solution, okay? So there are things that I'm going to cover today which will probably seem overwhelming at times, okay? But I'm never sharing any of this or anything that we talk about today. I'm never sharing any of it to freak anybody out, to overwhelm anybody, to make you paranoid. I'm talking about it because we need to talk about it, and the good news is the solutions are, once again, very simple, accessible, in many cases free, all right? We have the answers within ourselves. Hey, welcome. Nice to see you again. We have the solutions already, okay? We just need to be clear about what's happening, all right? So we're not here to fear this. We are here to call it out, to expose it to the light of our own consciousness, of our own awareness, so that we can take the measures that are ours to take to choose our own path, to choose our own outcome, okay? And we have the power to do that. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? We have a choice, okay? And the solutions are simple. This is all about a return to simplicity, a return to coherence, a return to sovereignty, and we are sovereign by design. Right, okay. Also, before I begin, I want to recognize the real pioneers in this domain, okay? Because without these very brave and brilliant people, we would not know. We would not know what's going on. These are scientists and researchers who have been seeing things under their microscopes for about 5 years now that they had never seen before. Lifelong researchers, lifelong scientists, who've been looking at under microscopes and looking at human blood and looking at, our insides for their whole careers, who started seeing things that they'd never seen before under the microscopes, things that were not natural, things that were unusual, and started consulting with one another. Hey, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Triangulating all around the globe to come together to try and understand what they were seeing, okay? And these are people who have risked a lot to come forward with this information and to persist in trying to understand what they were seeing. I want to acknowledge them because they are very courageous, very bold, badasses, brilliant people who in many cases risk their professional reputations, their livelihoods, in some cases their safety, to talk about these things, okay? Among them, and there are many, many, many people, but the ones that I am most chiefly familiar with are Dr. Edward Group, who is my mentor, my health coaching mentor, Dr. Brian Ardis, Dr. Anna Maria Mahalcha, Dr. Henry Ely, Sabrina Wallace, Dr. Maria Chrysler, Dr. Christiane Northrup, many, many unsung heroes as well, okay? And one more thing before we jump in. I'm going to cover a lot, okay? This is kind of a fire hose of information that's coming out just because I want you to be aware. I want you to hear it once, okay? Don't worry about trying to hold on to things because I'm going to give you a code at the end that you can use your phone to flash on and get a PDF companion that I created for this workshop, okay? It's got a lot of the information that we cover in it.
Does it have a list of all the scientists that you just mentioned?
I don't know. Yes, I did mention them in the PDF. Yeah, I think I threw in a couple extra names today.
Okay.
But you can start there and do the research with them, and you will just be led to the other people because they're all kind of working together now. This took some time, but a lot of them have banded together and are working on solutions together. And even last week, I as a health coach, I participated in a program, a master class, to keep us informed about what's going on, what they're seeing under the microscope so that we can help people. And so I know that these folks are working together. So we don't have a lot of time to go through all of this specific information. So I'm going to ask you to hold your questions till the end, okay? Not to feel anxious, like, oh, I'm going to miss this, I'm missing something. You'll get it in the PDF, and that's a really good starting point. And also, if you want to, on my website, you can go and purchase this actual lecture with the slideshow for a very nominal fee if it's something that you want to take your time going through, okay? We're also recording to Instagram today, so this will be on my Instagram channel if you want to review it at some other point, okay? So just so everybody can relax their nervous system and it's all going to be okay. So we're going to talk about the T word. Transhumanism. What is transhumanism? I'd like to know from you guys, what is your understanding of what transhumanism is?
The merging of humans and technology.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody else have any ideas about it? What have you been told about it? Does anybody is like, I've never heard this word? Yeah? Okay. This is great to know. Because at coming in, I'm not sure what your level of currency with this material is. And so I can see that there's a range. And that is great. Okay. So, yeah, that definition is it's the bare bones definition of transhumanism. It's a movement. It's a global ideology, we could say, that is seeking to enhance, to alter, or to replace human biology with synthetic biology through technology. Okay? It sounds kind of futuristic. It might even sound exciting to some people, right? This idea that, you could be merged with technology and become a genius and, become like a superhero or a god, a demigod, right? There's enough folklore out there in the entertainment industry to, yeah, yeah, exactly. It started way back. This started actually a long time ago before we realized, right? And it's been a long time coming, but it's here. It's here. It's happening. And it has been framed to the public in terms of integrating AI into the brain, right? Using nanotechnology to repair tissues, upgrading immunity through gene editing in ways that sound like progress, right? At first glance, it might seem like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, all right. But here's the thing. You don't need nanotechnology to repair tissues. Our body does that on its own, perfectly, when it isn't interfered with. You don't need your immunity upgraded through gene editing because your body's immunity is naturally effective when it isn't interfered with. You don't even need to integrate AI into your brain to become a genius because we already know that we only use a very small percentage of our brain and that we have potentially access to all of this incredible genius already within our brain if it isn't interfered with. So perhaps we would naturally access more of all that we are, including in our DNA, if we weren't so interfered with. But the truth is we are interfered with. And now there's a solution is being sold to us to upgrade us and purporting to do something that we are not capable of doing. When actually we are capable. Our bodies are capable of all of this if they're not being interfered with. So there's already a fundamental distortion in what is being sold to the public or how transhumanism is being framed to the public without even naming it as such. And that distortion is the belief that the human being is insufficient as it is, that nature makes mistakes, that we need to be improved, that we need to be upgraded, that consciousness is a byproduct of code, right? That the human is a hackable animal. That's a phrase that's actually been used, that we are hackable animals, and that's how they want us to see ourselves. So they would rather that you not know that you innately possess the so-called powers, the upgrades, the improvements that they are promising to deliver in this widespread but very subtle marketing campaign to sell us all on this agenda. Okay. So the message is you're limited, you're inferior, we can fix you, we can upgrade you. Okay. But the reason that I'm standing here in the first place is that I want to be clear that this is not about healing. This is not about making us better. It's not about even making us like gods. It is not in our best interest, in my opinion. It's a false promise designed to lure people in. The truth is this is about control. And we will talk about why that is. It's about creating a population of programmable biological units, part human, part machine, wedded with technology, who can be monitored, who can be steered who can be subdued. And the biggest reason why I want to be here today is that nobody asked us whether we were interested in participating in this program. That's what really gets my goat. They are modifying us already without our consent. Do you remember anybody asking you if you wanted to be merged with technology? I don't. Now, I'm not judging. Some people might want to go that route, and that's okay. Some people want to have that experience, but it should be a choice. Don't you think? Okay. So transhumanism is not the future. It's already here. And we are dealing with the effects that it's having on us. Only most people aren't aware that the problems that they're having are actually a result of trying to deal with those effects. Okay? So let's get into it a little bit deeper. Anybody heard of this guy, Klaus Schwab? Yeah? Creator of the World Economic Forum. That quote is from his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution. So, neurotechnological brain enhancements, genetic editing, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is characterized by a range of new technologies that are fusing the physical, digital, and biological worlds, challenging ideas about what it means to be human. Challenging ideas about what it means to be human. I think that's a pretty loaded phrase. Okay, so this guy, he's now stepped down from the World Economic Forum, but just because one guy steps down doesn't mean that he isn't replaced by another guy who is, embracing the same ideology and attempting to push it through. It's not one guy. It's a whole system, okay? So this is not fringe. It is not speculative. These words come from the actual founder of the WEF. He's not talking about the next century of inventions. He's describing the unfolding present. They are rearranging the building blocks of life, your life, my life, the life of your children, your grandchildren, with the stated belief that we're not enough as we are. That's the marketing campaign anyway. That we must be fused with tech. That we must be rewritten or overwritten. That's how I see it. And they're not asking for permission. Okay? Who's they? We'll talk about that. Let's talk about why they are targeting the human being. See if we're going to understand how this happened. How do we get to this place? And again, I want to say I'm voicing no negatives without a solution. Okay? And I am fully confident that we have to move through this difficult phase and we have to face it. We have to look at it in the eye so that we can get to the other side of it, because what is on the other side of it is us reclaiming our organic blueprint, which is more brilliant than any synthetic blueprint could ever be. Okay? Why are they targeting the human being? Why is this being done? Why alter the human? Why suppress nature? Why interfere with biology? Because the human being, when fully embodied, right, a human being standing in its power, emotionally coherent, spiritually aware, is the most advanced form of technology in the universe. In the universe, not just on the planet. This flesh and blood incarnational avatar is the most advanced form of technology. This is where we get into the realms of spirit and very big questions about who we are, where we came from, why we're here, What are we doing? Where are we going? What is this all about anyway? The most important questions that we should ask, that we should be encouraged to ask. All right, so this is not hyperbole. You are a full fractal, a full spectrum fractal of the source. All right, the creation, energy and consciousness of life itself. You carry the capacity to create timelines, to generate healing, to transmit light. We actually emanate biophotons. That has been measured. Okay, we emanate light. Your body is a living bioelectric temple that has so much power in it, potentially infinite power, infinite energy, and you are harmonically tuned to the earth and the sun. That's going to be important. And actually, the human is why this entire planetary matrix was built. Not because we are inferior, simple, brutes, hackable animals. That's what they'd like us to believe. But because we are free, sovereign beings of the source. With literally infinite potential. The transhumanist agenda is a mimicry program. It is an attempt to replicate the brilliance of organic life, natural life, through artificial means. Because the artificial can be controlled. You cannot. Attempts have been made. Attempts are being made, right? But full control comes when you are sufficiently merged with technology that you stop thinking for yourself anymore and you just follow the program. Okay. The organic human, which is what I aspire to be, the whole reason, root reason why I decided, even though I had other coaching certifications and I've been working as a coach for some time, to get a natural coaching certification was because I could see the direction that this was going, and I thought the organic blueprint of the human being is being lost. Let's have a choice if we want to remain organic beings connected to the earth and the sun, or, right, cyborgs. I mean, those words trigger because we've heard them in movies and we think, that's not real. It is real. The unmodified human cannot be fully controlled. But more than that, we are a radiant battery. We are a battery of creation. Not just biologically, although yes, but energetically, emotionally, spiritually, cosmically. We are a battery. They said it in the Matrix, right? They want to turn you into this. Lawrence Fishburne, right? Holding the battery. That's truth. Our body is a harmonic field. Our heart is a transdimensional transmitter. More and more research is being done on the heart and what it really is and what it isn't. Not a pump. A vortexer. Okay? Our soul is a bridge between worlds. And in full coherence, we generate frequencies that are unbearable to distorted systems. We are generators. But what do they call us? Consumers. You're not a consumer, unless you choose to be. You're a generator. We don't even know who we are. Okay. How's everybody doing? You're still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. You got to keep laughing through all of this stuff. Sometimes people say, you're always laughing when you're, in your talks and stuff like that. You're always laughing. We're like, you got to laugh. Some of the stuff I talk about is like, whew, you know, it's some stuff, and it's okay. But, you know, a lot of people are like, I don't want to hear it. It's too much. That's okay. That's all right. Not everybody has to hear it. If you're here, something in you was like, even if you didn't know what this talk was about, your soul put you here to hear some things, you know. Again, my intent is not to send you running, screaming for the hills and, you know, being paranoid, afraid to eat, breathe, sleep, or do anything. Of course not. But we do need to know. We need to know what's happening. This is how we get our power back. You can't heal what you don't feel. You can't solve a problem if you can't see it, if you don't know what's going on. All right. It's natural to ask, who would want to do this? Who's behind this push to modify, to suppress, to override the organic human? And the truth is, it's not one person. It's not even one group. It is, we're dealing with a multi-layered architecture of control. And that is a whole nother lecture, okay? Some of it is visible, some of it is hidden. There are corporate interests here. There are military interests. There are global governance agendas that have been at play for a very long time, much longer than anybody realizes. There are layers of profit, of secrecy, of ideology, some of it which is so far removed from human empathy that it appears alien to life itself. You can't imagine, if you're a normal human being, you can't imagine some of the things that we're now starting to see have been going on the world stage under the surface. As more revelations come out, I don't talk about current events necessarily. I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about all of that stuff because to me it doesn't really matter. I'm more interested in patterns, okay? But we are starting to see how the world has been run for a very long time, maybe forever, who knows, as long as, you know, eons. And it is very dark. It's very ugly. And normal human beings who have empathy can't handle that stuff. We don't think that way. We can't imagine that somebody would, right? And that's a reason why a lot of people, they just turn off, they go into denial, that they're like, no, I don't want to know. It's okay. And I understand that as a nervous system reaction against trauma. But again, we need to face what is happening. We need to understand. There are also deeper, more subtle forces, exopolitical forces, cosmopolitical forces. By that I mean things that go beyond our planet, that go out into the cosmos, because we are not alone here. I think most people accept that on the planet. But we have been kept in a kind of quarantine where we can't, like a frequency fence, you know, like a dog who has been kept in by an electric fence. As soon as you get close, they shock you and you go back, right? And I'm saying these things, and every time I talk about these things, a little part of me gets nervous, like they're going to think you're crazy, right? I have to say it. I have to say it because if I don't say it, that's not right. If you know something, if you see something, you should share it. If I'm wrong, that's fine. I'd love to be wrong. So these are energies that feed on disconnection. They are systems that replicate themselves through trauma and suppression. And we've been in the grip of those cycles for as long as we can remember. We were born into the system. When something tries to sever you from your body, from the earth, from the sun, when it asks you to distrust your intuitive sense, distrust your body, tries to make you forget what's real, not believe your own eyes, then that's a sign that it is part of this pattern. And when billions are spent to convince you that you are a problem that has to be fixed, That's not medicine. That's programming. All right, so again, I'm going to reiterate that we don't need to run around chasing shadows here to reclaim our power. That's not how this works. We don't have anything to fight. There's nothing to fight here. There is nothing to do battle with. All we do is stand in our light, let out your light, and see what runs away from your light. Okay, so let's see if we can break this down, understand this agenda. It's an ugly word, bioweapons. Bioweapons are the scaffolding for control here. Your body was never meant to be a device. Now that we've seen why the organic human is being targeted in the first place, let's look at how this is being done. Okay, it's not in the future, it's now, it's already happening. It's been happening for some time. We just didn't realize. Well, some people did. There's always a few who are, on the cutting edge and beyond, and they're the ones who are, mocked and brought down, and, like David Icke, who's been saying the same thing for 35, 40 years, In the 90s, people were like, he couldn't walk down the street without being ridiculed. But now he's like, told you. Okay, bioweapons are being deployed worldwide through a diabolical synergy of parasites, nanotechnology, venom, and frequencies. Okay? These are the vectors. And we're going to break it down. The battlefield is not just out there, again, nothing to fight against, but, these are some of the words that I don't know how to use other words, right? What's being fought over is in here, okay? It's in our airways, our bloodstream, our digestive systems, our brains. We're being modified, again, without our consent through what we eat, what we breathe, what is injected into us, what we touch, even what we absorb through frequencies. All right? The human is being turned into a node in the system. Oops. I don't know if I'm supposed to go there yet. Oh, yeah. Okay, parasites, nanotechnology, venom, and frequencies. And we're going to talk about each one. And first, I want to go to, yes. Here we go. The vectors for delivery of bioweapons and nanotechnology. Okay, so I don't know about you, but when I hear the word bioweapons, I think of stuff that they said in the 90s about how somebody was going to, get a dirty bomb into New York and make it explode in Times Square, and that was bioweapons, or releasing viruses and sickness into the population, poisoning the water, that kind of thing, right? Yeah, all that happens. But this is a lot more sophisticated than we realized. So synthetic materials and weaponized organisms are introduced and have been being introduced into our field through a variety of vectors, and I'm just divided them up into categories. So the first category I call air and injection, okay? Now the first one is through chemtrails and geoengineering. Does anybody not know what chemtrails are? Everybody knows? Okay. You see weird things happening in the sky. You see these crisscrossing trails, right? Now, a lot of people are like, that's contrails, it's normal, it comes out of a plane. No, it's not. Contrails are just condensation. They just evaporate almost as soon as they're out of the plane. Pay attention to these big streaks across the sky. Pay attention to these unusual cloud formations, ripples, things that look like waves and frequencies going through the clouds. Okay, all of this stuff, this is not conspiracy theory. It is documented. You can go on DARPA's website. You can look it up. All the patents are there. You can see what it is. They call it geoengineering, right? And they'll say, well, it's weather modification so that we can control the weather and make it good, right? Has anybody seen any positive use of that?
No.
Okay. A couple weeks ago when it snowed as far down as Texas, people made snowballs and they were like, this doesn't feel like no snow that I remember. What the heck? Some of that snow was tested in a lab and was found to contain very high amounts of strontium, barium, cadmium, aluminum, mercury, all the things that are in the aerosolized technology. Okay? Some people tried to burn the snowballs and they wouldn't burn. Okay? Again, let's not freak out. No need to freak out. I have to tell you, honestly, chemtrails is one of the things that I'm still triggered. I still get really angry when I see what's going on in the sky. It's offensive to my soul and my essence as a human being who lives on this earth and as a free being. You may or may not know that last year the state of Florida banned geoengineering in our skies in July of 2025. July 1st, it was meant to be effective. They are still spraying every single day. Okay, so if we said we don't want it, and they're still doing it, who's behind this? They're not listening. They don't care. They don't care what we want. They don't care what we think. Okay? This is aerosolized nanotechnology. This is heavy metals. This is synthetic biology. There's all kinds of things in these chemtrails. I've done a lot of research on it. I have a whole campaign on Instagram about it because it really just, I don't know. Some things just get you. I'm still working on regulating my nervous system around this. But this is a major vector of delivery through the air. So that stuff goes out, right? And of course it comes down in the rain, it goes into the water supply, it goes into all our food, it goes in, Okay. Vaccines and injections are another source of this kind of technology. LNPs, liquid nanoparticles, hydrogels, self-assembling nanotechnology has been observed in the blood, actually in real time, building structures, building networks. Okay, I've seen it all myself. You can go and research it for yourself and see what they are viewing under the microscopes. This is not only happening to people who received shots back during the pandemic. Even blood from people who did not receive shots is showing this technology because it is coming at us from all directions. All right, and the body is doing its very best to get rid of this stuff. But this is something we have never faced before, okay? And that's why I want to bring back all of those amazing researchers and scientists and doctors who, stepped out and were, named as agents of disinformation and misinformation and all of that back, a few years ago, and, did not stand down. They got together and they said, we got to try to figure out what this is in the first place and see if we can find some solutions, right? Okay. mRNA injected animals, livestock, poultry that are receiving these kind of injections, and there is no labeling required. They don't have to tell you, so you can be consuming it through the meat that you eat. Insect vectors, I know it sounds crazy, but mosquitoes that are modified to deliver gene-altering payloads, and smart dust and air transmissible particles, again, inhalable stuff that can go through the blood-brain barrier. They can affect your brain, okay? So a lot of people don't realize that what they are dealing with is side effects from these impositions on us, okay? Let's look at the digestive vectors. Well, GMO foods, we all know that stuff isn't good for us. It's been around for a long time. But, they're only getting better at what they put in it. All kinds of gut disrupting agents, pesticide residues, engineered plasmids, the water supply, okay? the chemicals that are in the water supply, chiefly fluoride, but there are many chemicals. And imagine all of the pharmaceuticals that people take, going down through the gray water, going into the water supply. It's just, right. Fluoride was banned in Florida recently, so that's good news. But, sometimes I think they'll throw one thing at you, like, sure, let's ban fluoride in the water. There's still a lot of other stuff in there. Processed foods, obviously. There is nanoparticle technology in processed foods. These things are made in the lab. They're made by chemists, right? And they're also made to be very addictive. Synthetic emulsifiers, aluminum-based additives, right, to keep things on the shelf for shelf life. Synthetic food coatings. There was something called Appeal that Bill Gates gave us as a present, claimed as natural. But it was not. It was a way to introduce biotech materials into organic food. I think actually they took it off. I think they were not able to push it through because too many people got upset about it. Because at Whole Foods, things were covered with Appeal, and it didn't say that it was covered with Appeal. So, and then finally, pharmaceuticals. There are additives to certain pharmaceuticals that are nanoparticles, potential DNA, RNA fragments. The garbage that we are dealing with is an insane amount of garbage. Okay, finally, dermal and surface-based vectors, so that's through your skin, okay? Receipt paper is a big one, right? We started to realize, hey, wait a second, this receipt paper that we're always picking up, that they give us every time we buy something is covered in BPAs. BPS is hormone-disruptive plastic. That is nanoparticulate, so it gets absorbed through your skin because anything that is on your skin gets absorbed through your skin. It's your largest organ of absorption and also getting rid of things. Toilet paper, pads, tampons, oh my gosh, bleached nanofibers, microplastics, irritants, and you're putting them right up in your most intimate areas where they can wreak havoc on your reproductive organs. Maybe that's for a reason. Smart fabrics, wearable tech. So these things that are sold to us as, it's cool, smart fabrics, it can tell when you're sweating, it can help wick away whatever, I don't know. Conductive threads, right? Embedded nanosensors that respond to Wi-Fi, your smartwatches, your Fitbits, they call it wearable tech, right? They want to normalize that as a good thing. Personal care products, sunscreens. Did you know that sunscreens inhibit your body's ability to make vitamin D? That's the whole reason that we need the sun in the first place, is to make vitamin D, which is actually not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. Makeup and deodorants. Oh my gosh, I remember back in the day, like the deodorants what was it called? Arid, extra dry, right? Things that stop you from sweating and send all kinds of terrible things up into your armpits, into your lymph nodes, into your breast tissue. Soil and garden contact. So sprayed pesticide residue, it may not even be on your lawn. You may think you have an organic garden, and everybody should be growing their own organic garden. But, if it blows over from the neighbors, if it's coming down from the sky, what choice do we have? Chemtrail fallout. Cleaning products and air fresheners, a big source of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, carriers that are designed to cross the mucous membranes. Okay? Now, is everybody thoroughly depressed?
Yes.
Good. No, not good. Not good. I just want you to be aware, okay? This is a long-term, coordinated campaign. I always feel it as a kind of net that has been slowly drawn around humanity for a very long time, okay? But the good news is we're catching on. We're catching on. Enough people are going, wait a minute now, right? People are getting upset about it. Now, being upset, being angry, being shocked, all of that, these are part of the stages of grief, right? That we have to go through when we realize nothing is what we thought it was. They don't care. The ones who had the power to serve the people are not serving the people. Not serving us. Okay, we're being modified without our consent, and this is how, all right? So, why are they targeting our terrain? Well, that's what they're doing, right? Did you know that 98% of your cells in your body are not even human cells? I mean, just naturally, right? They are microbial cells, and they live in our bodies and they work with us. They're our friends. They're our helpers, right? Bacteria, fungi, other symbiotic life forms that are responsible for helping with all these different functions in our body. So these microbes make up our terrain, and our terrain is the living ecosystem of our body. If our terrain is not doing well, it's like having, soil in a garden that is dead. Nothing can grow there. Nothing good can happen there. It's contaminated, right? Our terrain is like that rich compost that makes beautiful food grow in a garden, right? When our terrain is balanced. Well, that is what is being hacked, okay? Because the 2% of you that is human DNA is too intelligent. It is not easily hackable. So, it carries this quantum energetic signature that cannot be easily overwritten. And so the entry point is the 98% of you that is not human DNA, that is our terrain. That's what's being targeted, and genetically modified organisms are being used. All right? GMO is being used. And one of the most prevalent examples is engineered yeast. Engineered yeast and E. coli. Yeast is in so many things that we don't even realize, right? It's in beer. I love beer. Now I'm like, try to drink local beer. Try to organic beer, right? These are the organisms that are being used to deliver toxins, venoms, and synthetic plasmids into the body, okay? And this is what Dr. Group and others who have been spearheading this kind of work call self-replicating bioweapons. Once they're inside you, they can grow, they can shift form, and they respond to wireless signals like 5G, 6G, everything else they have planned coming down the pike. Okay? Kind of makes sense when you think about it. Oh, okay. What did they do during COVID when everybody was in lockdown? They went out and put up all the 5G towers. Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the role of parasites. Parasites are not just worms. So we have this idea of parasites as being these, worms that can get in your system if you drink the water in a third world country. Well, maybe that used to be, right? But now parasites are one of the primary vectors that are being used to deliver this bioweaponry. They're not just in your gut, they can live in your brain, they can be in your organs, they can be inside your cells, because parasites are not just visible, they are also invisible. They are also, microscopic, right? And here is what is critical, and it's kind of like, wow, when I think about it, I'm like, it's diabolically amazing. Parasites can act as frequency amplifiers when they are exposed to EMF. Okay, like your phone, your router, your smart meter. When they are exposed to that kind of tech, they become more virulent, in other words, more active in your body. They grow faster, they release more toxins, because parasites, when they're in your body, they're living in your body, and so they are consuming, and they are also defecating inside your body, right? I know it sounds gross, right? But like they themselves, and then the trash that they create and put in your system. And parasites, in case you weren't aware, parasites have been linked to mood disorders, depression, chronic fatigue, suicidal ideation. They are now, finally, people are starting to realize that they're linked to cancer, that cancer might itself just be an expression, a parasitical expression, a parasitical infection, right? So this is not just about worms in your belly. This is about creating antennae inside the human body. Okay? Creating antennae inside the human body. Well, that's a neuron. Well, we already have antennae inside our body, right? Our neurological, so we are electrical beings. This is not the organic one, not the organic network that we're talking about. This is the synthetic network that they're looking to replace our organic network with. You can see it happening under the microscope. And I know it sounds creepy as all get out, and it is. When you see it happening under the microscope, you're like, That's actually, it's building something. It's actually building something, okay? Building antennae, a synthetic network inside the body. And these parasites are organisms that make us more reactive, more programmable, more depleted. A lot of people are infested with parasites. They don't realize why they're sick, why they're tired. Never done a parasite cleanse, never done a full body detox. Why would they know? It's nobody's fault. We're dealing with a very sophisticated game here, but we're onto it. Okay, so parasites function as sort of the biological routers for this new system, amplifying the frequencies that we're constantly surrounded by now to grow this network more quickly. Okay. Let's keep on going here. You guys all right? Nobody's on the floor yet. It's okay. Just take a deep breath. It's all going to be fine. Remember, I voice no negatives without a solution. Self-assembly. When the inside becomes the interface. All right. So, alongside the parasites, we know that we're being exposed to self-assembling nanoparticles. We know because we've seen it under the microscope in all the samples of blood that have been tested. Thousands and thousands of samples. People who were vaxxed, people who were not vaxxed. It doesn't matter. And so these self-assembling nanoparticles include graphene oxide, lipid nanoparticle vectors, quantum dots, hydrogel. All of this stuff is in your PDF. So if you're like, I don't know what that stuff is, you can read about it. I can never even remember what all of them are. It doesn't matter, but you just need to know that they exist. They're out there. That's what it is. You can do your research, and if you want to memorize the definitions, go right ahead. My point is that it's in the body, so we just need to get it out, okay? And we can. These materials that I just named are small enough to pass through biological barriers that normally would protect us undetected, and they accumulate in our organs, they cross into the brain, they react to frequencies, especially blue light and 5G. And anything above 5G obviously would be worse, right? Blue light. Why do you think we got blue light everywhere now? Many street lights, if you look at nightscapes from before I was in a plane recently flying over a major city, and I was like, it's all white and blue cold light now. Everything's been replaced. In the old days, it was warm light. Remember? Anybody remember old street lamps? It didn't like, when you walk outside, right? It was just soft, warm light. Now everything is blue light. Why? Because it activates the parasites, it activates the nanoparticles, it activates the tech inside your body. Some of these self-assembly nanoparticles grow inside us, and they build crystalline structures beneath the skin. I recently heard the testimony of a guy who had 3 vaccines and was given 10 rounds of remdesivir in the hospital during COVID. First of all, a miracle that he's even alive, because anybody who was given remdesivir just about died. He described the sensation that he had bubble wrap underneath his skin. Okay? He said it was the strangest thing. He felt like a crinkly, bubble-wrapped Michelin man. Once he started detoxing his body and getting rid of the tech and all of that, that sensation went away. Well, that's because these nanobots, nanotechnology materials, build crystalline structures beneath the skin. I've seen them under the microscope. Others can be activated externally through the tech that exists, right? And they can alter your mood, they can stimulate food cravings, transmit data, okay? And they're being less shy about talking about the transmission of data, right? There's something called the Body Area Network. I want you to look up Sabrina Wallace, the work of Sabrina Wallace, fierce, fearless pioneer in the area of the Body Area Network, okay? This is how it's already happening. how they are attempting to connect everybody's already connected, to this network. Okay? It's invisible, but that doesn't make it any less real. Go look it up. Study it. This is not theoretical. DARPA has published these technologies. Hydrogel has been shown to self-assemble into magnetic structures when exposed to bodily fluids. Okay? Does anybody know, do you not know what DARPA stands for, what DARPA is? DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So it's military. It is a research and development agency of the United States Department of Defense, responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by the military. That should tell us something right there. Okay, so all of this is published. You can go onto their website, you can look it up. Right. Okay, let's talk about venom. The use of venom proteins in synthetic biology. What are we getting at here? So venoms are commonly used in anti-aging skincare products to make wrinkles seem to disappear. How does that work? Well, it freezes, the venom freezes the muscle, and so you're like, I know this personally because a few years ago, before I knew about all of this stuff, before I was a health coach, when I was still pretty caught up in the matrix, I was walking down the street in Palm Springs one day with my husband, and somebody was standing outside a beauty salon, and she was like, you have such beautiful skin. I got something. Do you want what was it? Non-surgical facelift. Non-surgical facelift? I was like, no, I'm not really into that kind of thing. She's like, come on, it'll take 5 seconds. I'm like, okay. So I went, and she's like, so like what line do you want to get rid of? I'm like, I don't know, like that one maybe? She's like, okay. And she's like, dab, 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 dab. And I felt it go, okay, like it froze, right? And I was like, what's going on? She's like, it's nanotechnology. It goes in, and it's patented cream, and they sell it for $700 and all of that. And I mean, I'm still vain. My vanity is still intact, and I was like, that's interesting. I didn't understand what that meant. I didn't understand that it was a carrier for venom to go into your system. I carried my little samples bag with me, and I was like, I didn't know, right? There's a deadly weight loss product out there called Ozempic that uses venom to freeze your stomach so you don't feel like eating. It will kill your kidneys within 2 years. If anybody is on Ozempic, stop. If anybody knows anybody who's on Ozempic, please tell them to do their research. They make this in the lab, and they know what they're doing. Engineered yeast strains like Pichia pastoris are being used to produce venom inside the body. So this yeast strain is widely used in biotech, right, in the labs, to manufacture venom proteins. Okay? They can manufacture venom proteins in a lab using this yeast. If genetically modified yeast strains like this one colonize the gut, especially in sugar-rich environments, right? We all consume a lot of sugar even when we don't mean to because it's in so many things. Then they can continue producing these venom proteins inside the body. It becomes a little factory of venom inside your body, okay? This is the one thing that I will say has not been publicly confirmed, but it reflects a plausible vector for stealth venom delivery. Okay, this yeast, I think it's very close to being confirmed. Why would they want snake venom or other kinds of venom in us? It has something to do with resistance to radiation, so that the radiation level can keep going up, 6G, 7G, next generation, and those who don't die will be resistant to that radiation and will be that much more programmable through the body area network. I know it sounds like, Lex Luthor and sounds completely diabolical, and it is. They want your body to survive in their world, which is not going to happen. It's not going to happen because we're waking up too fast. Not in harmony with the earth, okay? Natural humans, organic humans, who we are really, are beings who are naturally in harmony with the earth and the sun. Now, we have been, I guess you could say, traumatized and abused and terrorized over many millennia and deformed into becoming what we're not. But that is who we are in our essence. Have you ever noticed when there's a disaster, bad things happen, what do people do? They immediately help each other. Human beings we're good. We're good. We've been told we're bad. We've been told we're messing up the planet. There's too many of us. We're a plague. We're always warring against each other. That's not who we are. That's not who we are. So, Team Human, okay? This is not our plan to do this to ourselves. All right. Frequency is the final weapon here. It's kind of like the master key because frequencies are what activate all of this tech. The bioweapons are really only half the system. The other half is the wireless grid, okay? EMFs, ELFs, the ELF is extremely low frequency radiation, Bluetooth, smart everything, LED lights, your own devices, everything that we have become so absolutely dependent on because it's the only system that exists and we've been forced to use it. There have been no alternatives, right? So these frequencies can disrupt the nervous system. They can create cravings. They trigger microbial overgrowth in our bodies. They interfere with cellular communication. Don't you think it's hilarious that the first phones were called cellular phones? Our cellular communication gets interfered with by the cellular phone, and they open the pathways for remote influence. Do you ever feel like maybe some of the things that you're feeling or experiencing aren't really yours? Has anybody ever had that feeling? Like, is this me? This doesn't feel like me. Do you ever have thoughts that are not characteristic of your nature? Remote influence. I think this is going to become more and more apparent. The entire smart grid is a frequency weapon. We are living inside it. We're told it's for our convenience, it's about progress. And listen, I'm not anti-tech. I love good tech. Okay? I'm not anti-science. I'm not anti-progress. But I am pro tech that serves us. I've got a thing on my phone that creates scalar waves to nullify the dirty EMFs, right? I love that kind of tech, right? Tech that's in service of humanity. More of that, please. All of that tech exists already, but it hasn't been given to the people, right? Tech is neutral. It can be used to elevate us, to make life better, or it can be used against us. That's all, right? Everything's going to change. Okay, so we're going to take a step back, look at the wider view of things to illuminate how these control architectures operate, not just through biotech or frequency, but through the systematic reversal of truth. Let me just check the time here. Okay. Remember I said earlier, it's not about the details so much as it is about pattern recognition, right? Recognizing the patterns, all right? This is the pattern. The pattern is inversion, okay? Inversion, the act of taking something sacred, natural, or life-giving and flipping it, distorting it, using it as a weapon. It's what we were just saying. Tech is neutral, right? It could be used for us. It could be used against us. This is the signature of the control grid, this inversion. It is an attempt not at creation, because it can't create, because it's synthetic, right? But at imitation, the imitation of life, the imitation of nature, the imitation of natural systems that are organic, right? Trying to mimic those and take over what is natural, what is real, what is true, what makes us human. So let's look at some examples of inversion so that you can start recognizing it, because that's what I want, is for you guys to be like, okay, inversion. That's an inversion. Okay. So there is the organic truth of things. This is life, real life. And then there's the inverted distortion. Okay? Let's see what we're getting fed here. The organic truth is that our food should be nourishment, right? Everybody agrees? Yeah? Who doesn't love a tomato that's fresh out of your garden, that's warm from the sun, that is organic, and you pop it in your mouth and you're like, oh, everything good in life is in that tomato, right? The inverted distortion is food as poison. Okay, so they take the thing that should be nourishing, that should be good for us, and it is turned into a weapon. It's turned into a poison. It's very obvious. We have examples of that everywhere. Everybody knows that only 20% of what you find in the grocery store is even properly called food. Okay, here's an organic truth about light, right? Light is healing. We need the sun. We need the full spectrum of light that comes from the sun to produce vitamin D in our body. That's one of the things. But there are so many other functions in our body that happen because of our exposure to the sun, and only because of our exposure to the sun, right? We used to spend so much more time outside and, getting the sun in a natural way. And then inverted. Light is dangerous. It's bad for you. Radiation, fear of the UV, right? And replaced with this LED grid, which is a very limited spectrum of light, which is bad for you. Okay? You can read about it's not LED, just LED. It's more like blue light, the blue light spectrum. Okay, I'll correct that. So light becomes radiation. It becomes something that's bad for you. You have to stay out of the sun. There's a whole propaganda campaign against the sun. Then they make you slather artificial chemical substances all over your body to protect you from the sun. And then what happens? Instances of skin cancer go like this. And that stuff is preventing your body from making vitamin D. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't exercise caution in the sun. Don't go out and bake yourself at midday, right? Our bodies have been affected by all of these impositions and interferences, and we are more sensitive in some ways. There's an interaction between the light and us, and it's not normal. It's not the way that it used to be, right? So the sunlight is good for us, but we need to be progressive about how we receive that light, okay? I just got a Midolux sun lamp, which exposes you to all of the frequencies of the sun, but in a very intentional and time-limited way, so that you can build your vitamin D stores back up, and so that you can, start collagen production again, reverse skin cancer, all kinds of conditions in the body that, getting a proper amount of sun will do for you. All right, so this is how light has been inverted in the model that we live in. Okay, how about touch? Touch, in the organic truth of touch, is about connection, right? We know how great it feels to have a hug, right? To receive a hug, to receive loving touch from people that you love. And they've done studies about the benefits of a long hug, what starts happening with serotonin in your body when you hug for more than 10 seconds or something, right? So that's what touch is supposed to be for us. But touch has become surveillance. It's become dangerous, right? It's become weaponized as inappropriate, right? So there's more sex than ever before on TV. There's more people doing this, but if somebody touches another person, it's you've invaded my space, right? This is an inversion. This is mind control. Touch, proper, normal, human touch is a way of connecting. It does good things for our body, right? Massage, right? Okay, breath. Breath is the breath of life. It's spirit, right? In our inverted distortion, breath is a vector, right? The fear of contagion, germ theories, like, oh, you don't breathe on that person, you might kill them with your disease, right? They made us mask. Okay. I think there's a lot of questioning of germ theory now. I think that's good. Water is life. Water is consciousness, right? Water is now a fluoride delivery system for all kinds of undesirable things. Intuition. In a normal, human, organic, true world, intuition is just our natural guidance system, non-linear guidance system. It comes from our heart, right? It doesn't come from here. It comes from here. Right, and in our inversion, intuition is irrational, or dangerous, or like women's intuition, right? Emotion is energy. Emotion, if we could allow ourselves to feel it properly and just let it move through, it's emotion, it's energy in motion, right? If we could see it that way, understand it that way, then it would move through like a storm and cleanse, right? Instead, it's been turned into disorder that needs treatment, or it has to be suppressed. We're not allowed to feel. Emotion is hysterical, Our soul, in the organic truth of life, our soul is sovereign. It is the sovereign, right? It is where we live from. Soul expression is what our life is in a normal human world. In this inversion, the soul is data to be harvested. I'm not exaggerating. Data to be harvested. What's his name? Yuval Harari, who is one of the proteges of Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, whose quote I showed you earlier said, I wrote this down verbatim from an interview, humans are hackable animals. The idea that humans have this soul, this spirit, and they have free will, that's over. Today we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. You can now hack the customers. You can manipulate the customers to want what you want. He said a lot more too. Yeah, this idea that we have a soul. That's over, he said. Okay. We're going to get to the healing. Inversion works because it doesn't just alter facts, it alters our perception. It alters how we see everything. It trains us to distrust ourselves when everything is upside down, right? It's an Alice in Wonderland. Up is down, black is white. There is no truth. Truth is just relative, right? And it works best when we are overwhelmed, when we are afraid, when we're in survival mode, which is why the system keeps us in constant stress. Right? So it's a form of mind control. But once you see the pattern, then you can start to reclaim your own inner compass in here. I just want to reiterate, this is not about freaking out. This is not about, oh my God, I'm helpless and hopeless. On the contrary, we have all the power. We have all the power. Discernment is not paranoia. Discernment is discernment. It is pattern recognition. That's when you go, aha, okay, I see the game. I see the game. I don't have to participate. And that's all it is. It's like, I will not participate in that. You don't have to fight against it. Real sovereignty is peaceful. Because you know you have everything. You know all the solutions are within you already. You know that all of this work has been done to suppress you because of what you really are. You have all the power. This is what we need to realize and remember. Okay? When you start to see how this inversion works, you don't need to memorize the facts anymore, right? You don't have to follow every thread. You don't have to go down every rabbit hole. You just see, oh, okay, I see how this is connected. You see a bigger picture, right? That's calming. It's calming. And then, you start to recognize false frequency. You start to recognize when you're being sold a bill of goods. You start to recognize when you're being steered in a certain direction, when they want to elicit your emotional response and make you reactive. Did you hear what someone said? Right? That's like with the chemtrails with me. I'm like, calm down. Because I know that if I get reactive and emotional, I'm not going to be able to think clearly. Yeah. So when you recognize that something is not of life, this is a very important skill that we need to get back, then your own resonance becomes your protection. We have a field around us, right? We can be the master of that domain. Our resonance is our protection. That doesn't mean that you're never going to run into issues, of course. But you know that you have the solutions, you have the answers. You have an infinite source of intelligence, and you have direct access to it. Okay, with grace, we continue. Reclamation and healing. You are the countermeasure to all of this. You don't need anything special. If all of this sounds overwhelming, just remember that you are not powerless. The body was made for healing. This is what I talked about last month, right? It does it naturally when it isn't interfered with. The terrain wants to return to a state of harmony, and when we remove the interference, then the miracle of our design just starts to reveal itself, right? It starts doing what it's meant to do. It's miraculous. There is no single pill. There is no single protocol. There is a pathway. And it's just a simple, clear rhythm of detoxification, of nourishment, of awareness, and of protection. That's how it works, right? It forces us to step into our sovereignty in a way, in the way of being self-responsible, right? We can't just depend on, like, they'll tell me what to do. Somebody else will tell me what to do. No. That's what's hard for a lot of people, is that they haven't yet found the courage within themselves to be like, I got this. I've got my own back. I can do this. I can have support too, right? But I know that the means are within me. Okay, so terrain restoration is about cleaning the system, detoxification. 80% of chronic symptoms resolve when we clean the terrain. Simple as that, right? So where to begin? Last time I talked about there is an intelligent order of cleansing. We begin with the gut. We begin first with the gut. We move on to the liver, because these are our major elimination pathways. And if they are not open, if they are blocked, if they are congested, then nothing else that we do is going to make much difference, right? We can't hope to get rid of parasites. We certainly cannot get rid of heavy metals, chelate, detoxify, all of that stuff, if the elimination pathways are blocked, right? And we can recirculate that stuff, and that's going to make us feel sicker, right? So the core detox actions are gut cleansing, liver cleansing, and that's got to be ongoing, because the liver is very sluggish these days. It's only functioning at an estimated 10 to 15% from what these doctors are measuring with people. Then parasite cleansing, then heavy metal detox. Your allies are distilled, restructured water. Distilled water is like, it's got the polar charge. It carries the positively charged parasites and organisms out of the body. It even carries the plastic that it's inside. If you get the big jugs, right, of distilled water, and you're like, oh, but what about the microplastics? Understandable. However, it will magnetize, charge that stuff and carry it out of the body. That's what it does. So distilled water is a great ally. Don't believe what they said about, it'll strip you of all your minerals. It will strip you of the inorganic minerals. That's what you want. It will not touch the organic minerals. The organic minerals are instantaneously absorbed by your body when you eat them with the food. Okay? So distilled water, it's not going to hurt you. It's your friend. Inversion. Regular, gentle fasting, if appropriate. Intermittent fasting is a great way to help your body deal with the, too much of a load. Urotherapy, this is the use of your own urine. I'm going to be doing the talk on that next month. That's my last talk, okay? I cannot tell you how important this is. The cutting edge research, and a friend of mine is on the research team with that group of doctors, and they're doing a presentation next week about the effectiveness of urine therapy in neutralizing the nanotechnology that's in our body. I've seen the slides. It's exciting. Avoiding processed sugar, gluten, yeast, dairy, right? Stick to organic. Avoiding corn, there's corn in everything. Avoiding alcohol as much as possible. I'm not saying you have to be perfect and live like a saint, or, meditating yogi in a cave. You don't. 80-20. 80-20. 80% of the time, do the best you can, right? 20% of the time, it's somebody's birthday, we're going to have cake, we're going to have a martini, you know. It's not about being neurotic, because a lot of this is also your attitude, how you feel about things, right? If you're going to eat cake, eat it with joy. Eat it with gusto. Enjoy every bit, right? That transforms things in your body. You can eat the best food in the world, but if you're like, oh, I feel deprived, oh, I don't like this, you know, it's not going to go down as easy, right? Okay. Even without knowing the whole system, these actions start to shift your field. Your microbiome will start to reharmonize. Your emotions will start to stabilize. Your light will start to return. So I talked about the order of cleansing because that's important. Okay. Parasite protocols, very, very important now. Equals freedom protocols, I put. Because this is not optional anymore. It is absolutely foundational now. We have got to get rid of these parasites. They're not just passengers. They are programmed now to keep us in these emotional loops. They keep inflammation going in our body. They create fatigue. They even create depressive states. And they carry these synthetic payloads now, plasmids, nanotech, even venom, which respond to the EMFs in our environment and amplify the signal, and then we just go down a negative spiral. So plasmids, in case you're wondering, are they like these little USB drives of genetic code, okay? And they're not part of your main DNA, but they can plug into your cells and they can start running new programs. Now, in nature, in the natural world, in the organic world, microbes use plasmids to swap survival traits, right? Oh, let me help you out with this survival trait. Okay, I'll help you out with this survival trait, and we'll get stronger, right? But in the lab, scientists can engineer plasmids to insert synthetic genes, and those can end up in your body through injections or parasites or food or all the myriad of vectors that we've talked about today. And once inside, they can replicate on their own and deliver toxic or programmable instructions. All right? It's like a computer virus, right? Especially when they're combined with frequency activation. All right? This is real. This is ongoing. So clearing parasites and plasmids is not optional. It is foundational now if you want to be free, if you want to get your health back. So we have lots of options when it comes to parasite cleansing. Start with your gut, move on to your liver. When you start to feel like, okay, my body's doing better, then you can move on to parasite cleansing. The Hulda-Clark protocol is a very well-known protocol that people have a lot of success with. These are your friends: nascent iodine, pine needle essential oil, black seed oil, honey, CDS, chlorine dioxide solution. People rave about it. I'm about to try it for myself. Urotherapy, big thing. Zinc supplementation, right? These are all, I'm not saying you have to like do it all, right? Don't panic. Trust that your body is taking care of things. When you are aware and you begin to cleanse and detoxify intentionally, with intention, it's amazing what your body will do. Every terrain is unique, so you begin gently, you rotate your tools, trust the process. Okay, then we got to disassemble the scaffolding that has been created by the nanotech. This is an actual image, one of Dr. Anna Maria Mahalch's images of a construction zone in the blood, where the nanotech is assembling itself, creating a scaffold. So if parasites are the biological routers, as I said before, nanotech is the synthetic scaffold, right? They're working together. So these materials in the nanotech, the graphene oxide, the hydrogels, the quantum dots, everything I mentioned, they respond to light and frequency, right? The blue light, the frequencies that are all around us, they accumulate in the tissues, they create microcircuitry that mimics our biological pathways. The goal is to replace what is organic, but it is not irreversible, not by any stretch. So we have support in this area too. Something called supercharged C60. Again, organic iodine, rosemary and pine needle essential oils, which are safe internally. Structured water, again, distilled structured water. Liquid nanogold, which creates a protective biophotonic field around your body. Amazing. Urine therapy, which does what liquid nanogold does. You don't need to buy anything if you don't want to. So your body knows how to eliminate what doesn't belong if it's given the right support. All right? Okay. Finally, frequency hygiene. EMFs, especially in the ELF range, the extremely low frequency range, amplify the pathogens that we've been talking about. They suppress our immunity. They alter our cellular voltage. If our cellular voltage gets below a certain amount, automatically sick. Okay? We are a battery. We are a battery. We need to recharge ourselves, and we can do it from the inside out. You don't need to be plugged into a machine to do it. You're not a phone. You can recharge yourself from the inside out. You just got to get the impediments out of the way. Our body does all of this. So some of the, if you're doing all of the physical protocols, but you're still bathing in all of these harmful frequencies, then the system stays in a reactive loop, right? Because it doesn't feel safe. Your body is unconsciously on alert. The nervous system is unconsciously in stress, right? It feels these things because it's not natural. The EMFs, as I said, amplify all these pathogens, so we have to take some basic protection actions, like turning off the Wi-Fi at night when you're not using it, right? You don't want that stuff on while you're sleeping. There's a lot they can do through Wi-Fi, all right? I'm not going to get into that. Remember the Ethernet cable? Remember we used to plug our computers in? I mean, you can still get an attachment where you can use an Ethernet cable and plug your computer into the wall. There is such a thing as paint and window shielding. There's a company called Y-Shield that, you know, makes certain films or paints that you can paint your room with that will block the EMFs, right? I was reading about a retreat center, a fasting center, and they said we have EMF blocking paint and window coverings in all our rooms, right, to protect you while you're fasting. I was like, oh, I want to go there. Certain things like shungite, EMF blocking pendants, just make sure they actually work because there's a lot of scammers out there. The only way to know for sure is to get one of those meters and you can measure the charge, right, how it changes when you're wearing one of those pendants. Grounding fabrics like bedding, grounding shoes that connect you and allow you to bring up those earth electrons through the earth, not on the, you know, artificial surfaces, but when you're out walking, for example, you know, instead of shielding yourself from the electrons the free electrons from the earth that you need for your health, which we do when we have a rubber sole, right? That's a whole other, you know, rabbit hole you can go down. Shoes, blast those shoes and their rubber soles. They separated us from the earth.
Claire, can I just ask you
Yeah.
one question because we're going through this. So, what is grounding fabrics?
Okay. So grounding fabrics, for example, sheets. You can buy grounding sheets. I've got grounding sheets on my bed, all right? These are sheets that are woven through with a very fine amount of silver, okay? And they plug into the wall, not electrically. They plug into the ground, right? So it's just one little thing that you stick into your outlet, but it's not electricity moving through there. It's the same pathway that a lightning rod follows when it goes into the ground, a ground rod, right? So it's bringing up the natural free electrons from the earth through that cord into your sheet. It's conducting the earth energy through your sheet. So it's almost like you were sleeping on the earth.
And where do you find those?
There's all kinds of companies popping up like mushrooms. Yeah, earthing.com. I think I have some probably some links in the PDF. I can't remember, but you know, you can always contact me if you want to. Just start looking up, you know, grounding sheets, grounding shoes, earthing. You know, you'll see there's tons of them. Blue light filters. Okay, so I didn't even put them on. You know, I've got these, and I've got another set of glasses that are red that I only wear on Zoom calls because they're so protective that I can hardly read what I've written on the screen. These are blue light filter glasses, right? They're not for vision. They are for protection from the blue light that comes off the screen. You can also put, you know, I forget what the mode is called on your computer that is supposed to reduce the blue light. Some people say it works. Some people say, no, it doesn't really work. Yeah, try to filter so you're not getting so much blue light into your eyes. It's terrible for your vision, and it's activating all of this tech, and it's just not good. Minimize device use, obviously, especially around children. Their systems are extra sensitive, and also they learn from us, right? So if we're on our phone all the time, what do you think they're going to do? connect with the earth barefoot. That's grounding, right? So if the best thing is to, do it for real, but we spend so much time indoors now, we need a little support, right? And practicing scalar resonance. In other words, non-directional field effects, standing wave patterns that we can create inside our own field from breathing. We can create a coherent field state in our own energy field. We have that capacity. A lot of people just don't know how to do it. They don't realize how simple it is. Everybody wants to overcomplicate everything because we live in a convoluted world of inversion, right? All you have to do is close your eyes and breathe. You don't have to go study meditation for 8-10 years. You don't have to. You are naturally meant to connect. You are already connected to the source. You're already connected to the earth and to the sun. All right, you just have to remember that you are and be like, oh, okay, I'm officially bringing that back online for myself now, Again, it's not about fear. It's about choosing your frequency. Where are you going to live in all of this, right? Where are you going to choose where you rise to? It's up to us to do that, right? Nobody can oppress you unless you let them, right? Even with all of this stuff that has been laid on top of us, even with all of this stuff, you can't avoid, you still choose your frequency. It makes all the difference. Don't feel submerged or overwhelmed by any of this stuff. Take it as information, as education, and be like, all right, now I'm looking you in the eye, all right? I'm looking you in the eye. I see you. You ain't got me. You ain't got me. I'm taking care of myself, right? That's every person's right. Simplicity. Simplicity is the cure here. This is what restores our signal. Okay, quick sidebar. Do we have time? All right, 10 minutes. All right, and then we'll have a little time for Q&A, and then I'll liberate the room. Quick sidebar into urotherapy. As I said, next month I'm going to do a whole talk on this, and we'll get into it. But I want to emphasize how important this is. First of all, we have been programmed against RP. We have been told that it is a toxic waste product. It is not. It is not. It is full of stem cells. Your urine is it's medically called plasma ultrafiltrate. It is your blood ultra filtered through your kidneys. That's what it is. All right. It's not a waste product. There is a teeny tiny fractional amount of waste that comes out with the urine, but it is already conjugated. Okay, that means that it has been molecularly split apart so that what it was originally is not what it is when it comes out in your pee. All right? Yeah. Okay, so urine contains stem cells that can aid in your tissue repair. You know how people would go and pay like $100,000 for an injection of stem cells? You make your own in your pee every single day. And if you age your urine, let it evolve, the 150 stem cells that come out in one pee multiply into the millions over the course of 12 days. Into the millions and millions and millions. It's all in you. It's your stem cells, not somebody else's. You don't know where they came from. Okay. Yes, when you practice urine therapy, you enter a detox feedback loop, okay? Because when you start to practice, it carries information about what the body is eliminating. And when it's reintroduced in small amounts, it creates an immunological, I'll try to say that 3 times fast, immunological signal to correct the imbalance. It is a feedback system. All right, we'll get into this in my next lecture. Energetic polarity, right? It carries a negative ionic charge, right? So that is, again, kind of like what the distilled water does, right? It attracts and it pulls out the positively charged synthetic frequencies and materials out of your body. Nanotech neutralization, right? And I told you this is the big news on the front of natural health coaches like me. It's now official that we've observed that urotherapy disrupts the self-assembling nanostructures that are in the blood. For free. For free. Right on. Okay, so this is not a fad. It is a sacred technology that has been practiced for a very, very long time. Some people still have grandmothers who remember. Oh yeah, we used to do that. Not just topically, for like a jellyfish sting or a bee sting or whatever, or a snake bite, because your urine will produce the antibody to a snake bite in 15 seconds. If anybody has ever, gets bit by a rattlesnake, pee and drink it and put it on there. This has been practiced for thousands of years, from ancient Egypt to, in Ayurveda, the Essenes, the indigenous healers. This is not something new, okay? It's just been suppressed and ridiculed. And the reason is because it works. And more than that, it restores a direct, unmediated relationship between you and your own healing intelligence. I can start talking and now I won't stop, because what it did and has done in my life has just been remarkable. Okay, so let's move on to this last layer here, sovereign perception. This is the final layer of healing, I guess you could say. Perception is not just mental, it's vibrational. It shapes our biology, how we think about things, how we see things. It is affecting us every moment of the day, because we are creator beings, literally. We are creating everything. We're creating our realities. We're creating what goes on in our bodies, right? We are creating this 24/7. We don't get a break from it. So the more conscious you can be, the more aware you can be, the more power you have to operate through a wide perception from a place of wisdom, from your heart, right? Your perception is communicating with your cells all the time. It's either opening the door to healing or it's slamming it shut. We saw this in that movie a long time ago now. What the Bleep Do We Know? Do you remember that movie? Remember that movie? What the Bleep Do We Know? Go look it up. It's really fun. Yeah, and that's when they started revealing the relationship between our thoughts and our cells, right? Because we are 70% water, roughly, right? And water is intelligent, and it reacts, and it is alive and conscious. And so when you speak to your cells, you're speaking to the 70% of water in you, and the water is reacting to your thoughts, right? So if you have a lot of self-hatred, you don't accept yourself, the water cannot crystallize, it cannot make beautiful shapes. It's disordered. It's chaotic, right? If you look into the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, he was one of the famous people who, showed this, demonstrated this in his studies about water. And now we have an absolutely brilliant woman called Veda Austin, who is becoming world famous now for her work with water and the intelligence of water. It's next level stuff, okay? So perception is part of our terrain. To truly heal, we've got to reclaim our ability to perceive truthfully. You cannot perceive truthfully if you cannot see the inversion and the way that you're being played. You have to get a bigger view of things, right? Perceiving truthfully, not through inherited beliefs, but through this deeper intelligence of our heart. So sovereign perception means that you no longer assume that they, whoever they are, know best, right? You question what you were taught about health and illness and the body and our history and the world. You begin to track your own field. How am I doing? How do I feel? What is going on in me? You inhabit your body consciously, right? You occupy your temple. So many of us are dissociated from the body because we've all been through trauma. Nobody hasn't been. And in those traumatic moments, we get out of the body because it's too hard. It's an intelligent response to trauma. We dissociate. So many of us are not fully landed all the way down through our feet. I realized last year, I was like, I don't think I've ever really touched the ground. I think I will come back into my body now. I will choose to do that, right? You've got to be occupying your vessel. If the master isn't home, you know what happens when you have a house and you leave it empty. It gets broken into, things start to happen, it starts to look, sad and depressed. It's the same thing with our body. We have to fully occupy it. And we need to be fully aware that our signal, that our vibration is affecting our field all the time, 24/7. Detox clears the body. Simplicity calms our field. And sovereign perception is what restores the command center. You are the master. You are the director of your life, if you choose to be. And when all these three things align, the system of control cannot hold you. Right? So it's not about fighting the system, being aggressive, being angry. It's okay if you go through those phases. I did. But then you realize, oh, no. I just align in me. That's all I do. I align in me. The more I align in me, the less effect that stuff has on me. Okay. Oops, yeah. The new human template. Where are we going? We were never meant to be upgraded. This transhumanist agenda claims to offer an upgrade, better immunity, sharper cognition, faster recovery, blah, blah, blah. Even immortality, right? Some of them want immortality. You're already immortal. What's the point? Why do you want to stay in one body for all time? But this transhumanism agenda is not, it is not an upgrade. It is a replacement. It's a replacement of what it is to be human. And it's only needed if you've forgotten who you are. And you think, oh, I better get with the program. I don't want to be left behind. I better synthetically get modified, right? You are not a malfunctioning machine. You are a sovereign, multidimensional being directly connected to the source of all life. That's why they've worked so hard to suppress us. You're a living fractal of the universe, of the earth, of the sun, of breath, of light. And so we've got to reclaim this command center of the heart. All right, just touching lightly on this. Your heart field. It's just amazing. It is, your real command center is not your brain. It's not your devices. It's not any cloud-based neural interface. It is this here, this heart and the heart on the heart field, right? The electromagnetic singularity that connects you to the earth below, to the sun above. When you return to coherence through your breath, through your presence, through honesty, telling it like it is, even then it's hard. Through simplicity, you create a field that can't be hacked. If you're living right, if you're living in alignment, you've got your lions out there, right? The guardians, right? If you are living in integrity, if you are backing yourself, if you are proud to be human, if you don't despise your own nature because you've been taught to, then you cannot be hacked. And you can take the measures that need to be taken to detoxify your body, right? To take care of yourself, but the battle's already won. And you become a node of organic intelligence in this field. Everything synthetic falls away from you. It cannot touch you. And we need more organic nodes in the field. Okay? We need people to wake up. The more people wake up, the more people remember themselves, the more people will. All right? This is a critical mass that we're getting to rapidly, but we need every person who has the courage and the dignity to stand up. And just remember who you are. You don't have to battle anything. There's nothing to fight. There's no one out there. It's all in here. Just stand up and be you. Be you. Let your light out. Okay. We've come full circle back to the deeper why they want our soul. Remember, he said, that's all over now. That's according to them. Why turn us into cyborgs? Because once you are a machine, part biological, part coded, you can be steered. Most importantly, you're no longer connected to the source. And those who have chosen the dark path have chosen to disconnect from source, so they can't create anymore. They can only mimic. They can only copy, imitate, right? They don't have an intrinsic source of energy anymore. So they have to be parasites. They have to feed off of other people's energy, right? They have to feed off of other people's light. This is a reality. the influence, the consciousness that has possessed this planet for a very long time is disconnected from source. That's why it is in inversion. And it's tried to make us in its image. But we are not in its image. We are in the image of source. Your soul is what they want to sever, but that's impossible. It is your direct link to the eternal, it's what gives you unmediated access to divine intelligence. Through your heart field, it's what makes you the most powerful being in this system. And if you just realize that, then there's nothing they can do. It's over, game over, right? But if they can fool you and trap your soul in a synthetic body, they can sever your biological resonance, right? They can turn you from the creator being that you are into a resource. And the truth is, they have been feeding off of us energetically, and sometimes more than energetically, for as long as anybody can remember, right? And we're just waking up to that now. They can turn you from an infinite being into a programmable resource for their own use, if you allow it. But they will not succeed. And why they will not succeed is that the real organic human template, when it's remembered, is totally unstoppable. The soul can't be destroyed. That's the truth. The source field can't be coded. As much as, that energy would like to replace the source itself and say, no, I'm God, right? It can't happen. It's not possible. The real human template is unstoppable. And that remembrance is happening now, right? That remembrance of who we are through clarity, not by pushing, not by battling, but through looking things straight in the face like we're doing today, through being clear, not overly hysterical or emotional about it, not allowing yourself to be overwhelmed. Just look at the facts, right? Look at the facts dispassionately, and then you can make a choice, right? The returning to what is simple, what is organic, what is true. It's like falling off a log. That's who we are. That's who we are. You are the technology that they can't replicate. So how do you begin, all right? Well, just choose one little thing. Micro practices that can support you, such as these. Wake up with the sun. Like, instead of looking at your phone first, look outside first. Grounding barefoot in the soil, drinking clean, distilled, structured water, turning off your Wi-Fi at night, taking one toxic product from your home this week, and speaking the truth out loud. Even if it's hard, when we started this lecture, I was feeling a little shaky, personally. I've done this lecture before, but to a crowd of yogis, and they were already like, yes, we know this. Okay. So we're at the official end. I don't want to rush you guys. We've covered a lot. Some of this may be still moving around in your field and may for some time. That's good. That QR code that you're seeing there is going to take you to the downloadable PDF that I created. That's a companion to this lecture. It's got a lot of information, simple, elegant summary of the protocols and the products and the concepts that we've touched on today. Well, products, I didn't really mention any products, but if you want supplements, I trust Global Healing. They're the only ones I trust in supplements. And so this PDF includes terrain restoration steps and detox protocols, EMF protection strategies, glossary of terms for more clarity. If you go there, you can grab it. There's also a video version of this talk, as I mentioned, on my website, available for a nominal fee. I think it's like $11 or something. It's called Sovereign by Design. So if you go to my offerings page, you'll find it there. I also offer programs and mentorship for those who are ready to walk this path of reclamation with intention more fully. If that's you, get in touch with me. I've got cards up here. No pressure, just a clear path when you're ready. Okay, so I guess just to summarize, we're not victims. We are not victims of a future that we didn't choose, right? We are co-creators of this timeline. And, I also feel like we created this game too, to give ourselves the best programs to wake up through. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment to wake up in the middle of all of this. The truth of who you are is your greatest protection here. And that's not something that you have to become. It's what you already are. It's just a matter of letting go what isn't you, what isn't true, right? That's your clearest compass, and it's your most radiant gift, is the light that you are in your heart. All right. I'm going to, hey everybody. Yes. Thanks guys over there on Instagram, and I'm going to check out here now, and we'll post this after. Lots of love. Thanks for being here.